Hi, how you doing? Epic Bill Bradley here, fresh from in London. Just drying out after getting out of the English Channel a few days ago. I took my fifth attempt at it, and unfortunately, I did not make it. I came up a little short, but I was extremely happy with our team's efforts. It was, like I said, it was my fifth try at it. My long before I'd been 17 miles. I made it 20 miles this time. I actually came within 4 hours of 4 miles of shore when a big storm hit and actually blew us back 3 miles into the channel and caused the captain to call it day. Call me into the boat because as I was swimming, the boat kept drifting away. It would get, I mean, they couldn't stay near me. It was so windy. It was extremely windy and very, very choppy. So anyway, so he called it, and after 11 hours and 30 minutes, like I said, I was very disappointed. But in the one hand, but if you look at the positives, they were extreme. I had really, really prepared for this. I'd pretty much swam for a year straight, the most I'd ever trained for the channel before. Working with my coach, Mark Stanley, with my, getting my nice relaxed stroke. My arms I still was pulling. I started out at 58 strokes per minute, and I was down to about 52 at the end. So I was still in the ballpark of what I was doing, and still strong, still pulling right to the very, very end. So what I did was, so I worked on my stroke. That was different from the other events. I worked on my nutrition. So my big things that have stopped me in the past was I'd gotten seasick a couple times and really thrown up a lot and got myself so weak I couldn't swim anymore. So the way we took care of that was, number one was I was wearing a patch, and number two was we shifted to foods that I had tested that were easier on my stomach, which was, I ended up with goo and mashed potatoes, which was something new that I added this year. Really, we put them like, Mariko, my crew chief, put it together, and what she did, she blended it really fine. I mean, like a liquid blend, and we put it in little, sandwich bags, and they would throw it to me tied to a rope, and I would just bite the end off of the sandwich bag and squeeze it down. It went faster. It went down 300 calories. Is what I do per hour. So I would, we did them in bags of 150 calories with, half-hour feedings, and I could squeeze that down in 20 seconds or something like that. It went right down, easy on my stomach. So that part was like great. and then I would rotate in goos with that, which are also relatively easy on my stomach too. So I felt really good about my nutrition, and my nutrition worked the whole way. The only thing is I threw one Ensure in the middle to get a little protein, and instantly just puked all that up. So we went away from the Ensure idea because I had tested and I can do it, but I think my body was under so much strain by then that it just went, yep, just like The Exorcist, man, all over the channel. So yeah, we said let's skip the Ensure next time. We went back to the mashed potatoes and the goose. What was interesting was the observer, when they were asking him, who was on the boat, if very often people throw up, and he says, hey, almost everybody throws up out there because it's just such a strain on your system. The best guys, the fastest guys, they're out there throwing up. We all just, you throw it up and then you just move on, so it's a tough swim. Anyway, so that was one of the things I worked on. The other thing, so also to stop that seasickness, I wore a patch, which I hadn't wore for my first couple attempts, and I wore it this time. And actually towards the end, we were getting like 4-foot rollers just coming in like one after another, these, the rolling waves, and it didn't get me sick. So that was like a big, big deal. This patch was working for me. The other thing we worked on was, besides my stroke and that was my my mental just my mental toughness in the water. I was kind of told that what I'd had trouble with in the past was the cold. If I started to shiver, I instantly thought I was getting hypothermia, and You know, just like you're just. And I've been told that if you start getting hypothermia and you start shivering, that you can't stop. You know, that you're done. You know, there's no way to warm up in the channel. And so I was sitting out there, and I actually, to prepare for this, San Francisco Bay, I got some really good long swims in. My friend Bob Roper spent 24 hours or so and within 1 month on this Zodiac with me. I did a 6-hour swim in San Francisco Bay, this continuous 8.5-hour swim, and a 10-hour swim. These were all in 1 month, 2 weeks apart. And I learned a lot from it. It really mentally toughened me up. I got out and got in some really tough windy conditions that were blowing a lot of wind and waves in my face. And then I also got used to, I got cold during that 10 hours of 54 degrees Fahrenheit, and it was very, very cold. And I started shivering at 5 hours. And I swam because what my buddies have told me, they said, hey, if you know your name, you're not cold. You're not hypothermic, you're just cold. And so when I started shivering, I said, what's my name? And I said, it's Bill. And I said, dang, I'm not hitting hypothermic, I'm just cold. And I swam for 3 hours with, you know, kind of every time I would stop for a feeding, I was shivering. And Bob would ask me if I was all right. And of course, what's my name? It's Bill. Of course I'm all right. And so, but after 8 hours, I finally got enough fuel. I got more fuel in me. I think my stomach started digesting this fuel, and I stopped shivering. And so I learned a lesson that you can stop that cold, you know, the cold, and it would eventually would go away. And I finished off that 10-hour swim. If I hadn't been told that about the shivers, I never would have made it that long. I would have never made that 10 hours a day. I would have got out thinking I was hypothermic. So that's a big deal. You know, I was not going to stop for being cold. And on top of that, that 54 degrees, the channel when I got here was 61 degrees. So that's like a 7-degree difference. That is huge in cold water swimming terms. And so I thought, this is really setting up really nice. The channel's kind of extra warm this year. And I'm ready to go, you know. So I thought I had the food under control. I had the training. I was very, very confident that I could swim the distance. And and then I had a great crew. We did, one thing that I had noticed in the past was I need a lot of attention out there. It really helps. If you, anybody who's ever done this, I was told one guy, because I've had times where it's cold up on the boat and it's freezing and, you know, and you're down in the water and you could have people feed you and then they disappear into the cabin to get warm for half an hour. And so you don't see anybody. You just look up and all you see out there, this is the difference between swimming in San Francisco Bay and swimming out here. At least when you're in San Francisco Bay, there's tons of stuff to look at. You know, I'm swimming past Pier 39, you know, there's all kinds of, you know, everywhere you look, there's stuff to look at. Here, you look down at the water, you got the ocean, and you got the boat. So what I told my crew was, I said, hey, you guys got to look like you care. At a certain point, I'm going to get where it gets really hard on me mentally, and I need to look and know that somebody cares on that boat, you know, that they just care. You know what I mean? It's huge to me that you care, you know. And I've had where people have cared in the past and tried to yell stuff at me. You can't hear anything in the channel. When I feed, if you get up close, you can hear somewhat. But when you're out there, you know, 10, 15, 20 feet, for 30 feet from the boat, you can't hear anything. You just see somebody's mouth moving. So what we did was we came up with the idea of a whiteboard. And so we had a nice whiteboard about this big, and they wrote motivating things on there for me. We got ones from people who follow me and put things they wanted to put on the board. I had ones that I knew would keep me going. My Mar and Brian had things that they put on there. And everything, though, didn't really matter what was on there. It just showed that people cared. You know, that you're in there, you're not in this alone, they're in it with you, and they care with you, you know. So it's weird because this is so hard on me mentally. Compared, you know, I think the hardest thing about swimming the channel on the mental aspect is there is no breaks. I mean, once you start, you go until you hit France or you get pulled and get in the boat. There's no breaks. So from a mental point of view, extremely tough. And you know, when you stop, when you swim and you take a feed break, it's 30 seconds tops. I mean, otherwise you start to shiver and get cold and you're being pushed downstream, down with the current, and it makes it a farther swim. So anyway, that I thought we were super successful in that. I really, the whiteboard, everything, they had me laughing in there, when I wasn't crying, and it was, and it all went, it was great, So anyway, everything went super. I mean, we started out, when we saw I saw the forecast. I mean, I literally was convinced that this was my time. I saw what my day was. It held. I saw it a couple days ago. I was supposed to go on Tuesday, and it held, for the couple days, and it was down. I mean, the wind was under 10 miles an hour. Some of it was down at 5 and 4 for some of the hours. And I said, this is meant for me to make it. I mean, it is meant for me to make it this time. And I started out, and it was really smooth. And I remember I was going, yeah, I mean, just keep it together, nice stroke, nice pull, just, nice, just everything. Keep the elbows up, keep the butt up, keep the elbows up, keep the butt up. And that's what we did. And we continued to do it. And it went great. But then, probably after about 4 or 5 hours, I noticed, the ocean starting to get a little bit bigger, a little bit, nothing super bad yet, but just a little bit bigger. And then when we got out there at 10 hours, it was like, whoa. It was like the sky got all dark. And this is why the channel is so tough. It's unpredictable. The sky got all dark, and the wind just really picked up. I mean, it was really forceful. It was rocking the boat all over the place. I was trying to get behind the boat for protection. We were 4 miles from France. I mean, when I got the sign 4 miles from France, I mean, I was licking my chops. I go, I got this. I 100% got this. I so felt I had it, I mean, my stroke count was still in that 54 range, and I was pulling, and I thought I had it. I was 100% convinced I had it. Then all of a sudden it started getting these big, waves coming in and everything, and and the wind had picked up, and the sky was dark, and looked like something out of Wizard of Oz, and I was feeling like I was Dorothy running for the cellar. I had no place to run. I was just in the channel, and so it started, so it was going up, and I remember Fred